that I'm a recruiter living here in Hawaii for about a decade. Prior to then, I had lived on the mainland. You know, I was born and raised in the Chicago area and spent many years working in the Midwest, as well as made a move over to Boston and lived there for many years, as well as Los Angeles prior to moving here to the island. I get a lot of questions from people who are not from Hawaii. How do I land a job when I'm not there, first of all, and I don't really have any connection to the state? Is there any advice that you can give me? What are some of the tips or things that I should keep in mind? So I wanted to share some information about that. You know, I did a video on this topic a few years ago, still on YouTube. So refer back to that. But you know, since then, there have been some updates that I'd like to share. Now is a different time. You know, things that we use in terms of finding out information and how we connect with people is a little different. So I'd like to share 4 things to keep in mind if you're looking for a job in Hawaii and you're not yet here. So before we jump in, I'd love it if you would subscribe below and click the little bell so you don't miss out on any videos that we put together for this site. So you know, I am a recruiter. We talk quite a bit about careers, not just here in Hawaii, but also, you know, I'm in a unique situation where I have around 10 years of working virtually from a work from home environment. Topics that relate to the career search for job seekers as well as employers hiring. So subscribe below, don't miss out. Okay, so the first tip that I want to share, if you are looking for a job here in Hawaii and you're not here presently, you want to, one, take your time and do your research before you get here. And what I mean by that, I mean, it means so many different things. I've worked with candidates from the mainland who might not have a previous connection here. Maybe they never visited and they are just moving here because a spouse is coming and they're following, or you know, it was a lifelong dream because they've come here on vacation. It's super important to know where you're headed. So I've talked to countless number of people who don't know that there are multiple islands in Hawaii. You know, I spoke with someone just the other day that didn't realize that Honolulu is on the island of Oahu and not on Maui. So it would be really helpful if you just had a good understanding of how Hawaii was set up. You know, I encourage you to take a look at the internet, you know, any of the Google searches, you know, type in Hawaii, pull up a map, get acquainted. You could also look up, you know, Hawaii on many different sites. You know, there are a lot of local resources that will pop up. I know for me personally, you know, there are some newspapers like the Honolulu Star Advertiser, as well as the Honolulu Civil Beat, which is actually a digital website, and a whole bunch of other stuff that will help you get acquainted to where certain cities are, what islands they are situated on, and so forth. In your research to understand what kind of businesses are in the city that you're planning to relocate to. So here in Hawaii, you know, I don't think I'm saying anything out of turn, but most of the business dealings for the state happen here on Oahu. With Honolulu being the capital, a lot of companies, corporate, hospitals, other sorts of companies call Oahu, you know, the home base or for a lot of this kind of work. That's not to say that the other islands don't have that, they certainly do, but Honolulu is the biggest city, so, you know, just by that in itself, you're going to see a lot of, you know, business activity and a lot of companies being here. Depending on what you're doing, you want to get a sense of what are the companies in those areas, what are the industry types of jobs that are there. So a lot of these things can be done quickly for sure, but I am a real advocate that if you are planning a move, you should take as much time in preparing for it than just jumping on a flight and coming here, because the tactics that you take to find a job, if you're just coming here quickly and you need to make things happen, will be a little bit different, and certainly the action level will have to be a little bit different, and we could probably address that in another video. Yeah, I would recommend take your time, do your research, know where you're going. Okay, so one important thing that I do want to say is if you are applying to jobs from afar, on your resume or on application, that you utilize a Hawaii zip code. So preferably it's in the location or near the location where you're going to be moving, even though you're not here, because you will likely get a phone call from somebody who is employed here in a position to hire. You can tell them over the phone, or if you're submitting a resume, writing it in your cover letter, being very clear as to when you are planning to arrive, having those details, showing that you're very serious about that it's already planned out in the future. You want to explain that there, but in terms of submitting your information for specific jobs, you should reference a Hawaii zip code. Do that and you will definitely get calls. If you have friends that are here living and you want, and for some reason if you have to provide an address, you should ask permission if perhaps you can utilize their address in the meantime. But certainly fill in the blanks in your cover letter or in the conversation with someone over the phone that you're coming, and you share those details. Okay, so the second thing that I'd like to share is from here. It's super important to understand and start developing your narrative of why you want to be here, as well as connecting yourself to any previous experience, any people that you know here that could be part of your support network. Employers here definitely want to see that you're here for the long haul. They want to see that you are committed to being here and really adapting to the culture and the way of life. And what best ways to show that? If you are familiar, if you can give examples showing that you're familiar with how life is here. Perhaps you went to school here at some point in your life. Maybe you're coming back to find another job back home. That's great. If you haven't any history like that, perhaps you have met friends from, experiences in your life that are from here and you visited and you are in touch with them still, that when you move here, they're going to be part of your support network. All of these things are super important to show that you have a connection here that's lasting. A lot of employers are super scared that people who don't have a history in the islands, they're going to be a flight risk. So, you want to show and integrate in all of your answers, your awareness and understanding of the islands, but also that you have and are part of a support network. A really good example for someone who's not from here, I had interviewed a candidate not too long ago, within the past year. She was part of a military family growing up, so she actually was born out here and maybe spent the first few years of her life here, and then she moved to the mainland, had actually moved in a lot of different locations throughout her life before she decided to come back here. So even though she might not have spent plenty of years here living and growing up, she did want to integrate that into her story whenever she was talking to employers here, that she had a connection. There's a purpose and a reason. So I would say, as much as you can, try to identify what your connection is to Hawaii, why Hawaii, and then also, as much as you can, if you can identify people that you're connected with here, be it friends, be it relatives, be it someone that you know well who's going to be part of life, and showing that you're rooted here, your community is going to help you. To me, this is one of the most unique things about Hawaii, just the importance of having a connection here. When I first moved here back at the end of 2009, I will tell you that one of the first questions that people asked me was, where did you go to school? And when I heard that question, as a 30-something-year-old person, I was thinking, oh, they're probably asking where I went to college. And that was totally not the case at all. These people who are my age, 30 plus and older at the time, they were really curious where I went to high school. And for me at that point, I was like, high school? I couldn't wait to get out of high school where I grew up. So, the fact that people still bring up the affiliation of where you went to high school, it really is a great example of how your connections and being rooted in the community takes a very high precedence. So if you don't have that story in your history, you know, try to identify links and connections to people who are part of the fabric here, and that can help, you know, show that you aren't going to be a flight risk. Third thing that I would recommend is that it's super important to make and build your relationships with people who are here already. So if you are somewhere on the mainland or in another country and you're planning a move here, you better get online and, you know, get talking to people. So this would mean, you know, reaching out to people you went to school with who happen to live in Hawaii now, or maybe they do business here and maybe they can introduce you to someone. This could be also networking and reaching out to people that you don't know yourself, but you find them on LinkedIn and, you know, they are situated here. Maybe they're working in your industry, or perhaps they're a recruiter and you wanted to bounce ideas off of. You want to meet people here on the ground that can help you. Really, it's to build those kind of relationships and connections with people who can really be your advocates. And it's very common to reach out and do some informational interviewing, making a connection to as many people who can help you get introductions to the types of businesses or work arrangement that you want to be in. So that quite often means talk to as many recruiters as you can, or HR people, or people that work in the kind of role that you want to be in. You can really gain a lot of awareness and understanding of the market, and just, you know, really understand the lay of the land. You know, not everyone is going to be super with it, I guess, and free with information that they're going to share about the local market. Sometimes people will only want to talk to you if you're here, but keep reaching out to people to see if you can take half an hour of their time whenever they have time to help you strategize or ask questions about your job search. That is super important, because when you do actually arrive, you will know somebody, at least on some level. And hopefully it's a strong enough connection. And when you are here, make introductions for you, or perhaps follow up and meet with you a couple of times upon your arrival. Not just from a career front, but even just, you know, like, how do you pronounce this particular street name? Or where is this town? Last tip that I would give, if you're moving here to Hawaii and you don't live here and you don't have any previous connection, people aren't always as direct in their communication. People are a little bit roundabout in their communication. Be aware of it, that you will encounter people who may not be as direct as you. And if you need information, or you need action, or you need something done, you know, it might go over better, a little more gentle in your approach, and not so much, where is it? Tell me why it's not happening, you know, very forceful. So, you know, it's kind of like the expression, you want to kill them with kindness, you kind of want to kill them with patience. Same sort of thing. Because everything is a little bit slower, you really want to focus on the one-on-one interactions. Not everyone is going to speak as directly and as candidly as you. It's just not in the overall communication pattern here, I would say, for culture. So just be mindful of that. So with that, guys, those are my 4 tips. You know, I would love to hear what your feedback is. Perhaps you've moved here and you had a different experience. What were some of the things that you encountered? Comment below. I try to respond to comments when I see them, but I would love to know what has worked for you, what hasn't. You know, if you were recommending advice to someone who has never been here but they're going to be moving, what would you say? I'll see you guys later. Bye.